Do not stand by my grave and weep. I am not there, I do not sleep. I am the thousand winds that blow. I am the diamond glints in snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. Do Not Stand by My Grave and Weep, mainly attributed to Mary Elizabeth Fry, is a popular poem at funerals. The piece speaks to a concept of humanity that transcends our mortal nature, that somehow the essence of ourselves is beyond that of our bodies. Though there is a grave, the true essence of the speaker is elsewhere, persisting through the simple beauty in nature. In a way, the essence of being isn't relegated to the body. Or, put by another poet,
dead body's like a piece of trash.
I mean, shove as much shit in there as you want.
I don't know. Bang me, eat me, grind me up into little pieces, throw me in a river. Who gives a shit? You're dead, you're dead.
Pack Tactics, or Kobold for short, in his Weird Rules in D&D short series, follows this grand tradition.
Weird rules in D&D, Revivify and similar spells don't work at all. They all say you touch a dead creature. But rules as intended, a corpse is an object. This targets a dead creature. A dead creature doesn't exist, for it has become an object.
So in Kobold's video, he says that Revivify and similar spells are flawed because they require targeting a, quote, dead creature. Because the rules say that a dead creature is an object, there can be no target for the spells. A dead creature is no creature and therefore cannot be targeted. Kobold concedes that he knows how the spell is supposed to work, but insists that he's pointing out the flaw, the, quote, funny mistake. But is there? A mistake, I mean. It's about here I have to stop myself because my video right now is already longer than his. And before I go any further, I have to ask myself, am I really going to overanalyze a minute-long video that was clearly nitpicking for the sake of humor only because I disagree with the conclusion? Now, to be clear, I got permission from Kobold to use his video in this. I don't have any issues with Kobold as a creator, and I recognize that his video was done for comedic effect rather than an actual full-on analysis of the rules. But Kobold does make a claim that Revivify and spells like Raise Dead and Resurrection don't work. So, do they? I'd like to use Kobold's premises and conclusion to explore the concept of targeting and the game's use of the terms objects and creatures. After all, the targets section of the rules states that spells may target creatures, objects, or a point of origin for an area of effect. So perhaps Kobold has a point. Being who I am, though, I can't accept it without doing my own analysis. To that end, I want to answer some questions that Kobold's video raises, examining the text as a whole to see if we can find some answers. I know I literally just posted this ruling, but strictly examining it makes things unclear. Is this list disjunctive? That is, can a spell only target one of these three? Well, no. It appears that this description is simply giving an example of things that could be targeted. While, strictly speaking, most harmful spells target creatures, spells like Acid Arrow or Arcane Sword require you to just choose a target, regardless of its type. Spells like Enlarge Reduce specifically allow targeting of a creature or an object, and spells like Alarm allow you to target objects or an area of effect. And while we're on Alarm, note that Alarm doesn't allow you to choose every type of object. It notes two specific types of objects, doors and windows. Like Speak with Animals allowing you to target only a specific type of creature, it appears that a spell's target can be as broad or as specific as what is written for it. There is no rule that says a spell can only have one type of target, so realistically, I could just say that Revivify works because, well, it says what it targets. You don't just get to change what you believe the spell says. It says what it targets, so that's what you can target. Jeremy Crawford, who we will discuss later, says as much, but I hear you, Kobold. This is a mistake of construction. Why use creature when you meant object? Isn't that a mistake? Which leads me to my next question. In his video, Kobold says this.
Rules as written under objects. A dead creature is an object.
And, well, kind of. I mean, Kobold links to this portion of the Dungeon Master's Guide, but to be clear, there is nothing in the rules, here or elsewhere, that says a corpse is an object or a dead creature is an object. The closest we can get to that is that an object is inanimate. But, like D20 PFSRD implies, an unconscious creature isn't animating. Hell, a paralyzed creature isn't either. So without clear rules on what is and isn't animating for the purposes of determining whether or not it's an object, we're left with authorial intent and interpretation as the best source of authority. And hey, look, Jeremy Crawford, the lead designer and the one who wrote these rules. So yeah, his authority seems pretty important in times of ambiguity.
This didn't help at all.
Until it isn't, I guess. But we'll handle that later. The point is that Jeremy Crawford has been consistent in his interpretation of this question. A corpse, that is to say a dead creature, is an object for purposes of spell targeting. And this makes sense with the rule for objects. Hey, look, you target an object with animate objects and the spell goes on to describe it becoming a creature. If you animate an object, it becomes a creature. If you disanimate, if you kill a creature, it becomes an object. So great. We found some common ground. A dead creature is an object. Isn't that great, Kobold?
This targets a dead creature. A dead creature doesn't exist, for it has become an object.
Wait. Huh? So this is the main crux of Kobold's argument here, really. To be honest, I don't really know where this premise comes from. It doesn't follow from anything we just talked about. Certainly there isn't anything in the rule that says there is no such thing as a dead creature. We just agreed, both of us, that a dead creature is an object, so it does exist, just not as a creature. And as I looked closer at Brian's question, I realized he and Kobold are doing a bit of grammatic sleight of hand. You see, this is not what the spell says. I want to pause here to solidify this point. These spells do not target a creature. To remove the adjective dead or the dependent clause that has died within the last minute is to misrepresent the target of the spell. This is what the spell targets. A creature that has died. A dead creature. A corpse. I mean, that is what Jeremy Crawford was saying when he said that a, quote, creature is different from a, quote, creature that has died within the last minute. If you want to appeal to Crawford's authority, that has to be a choice. Either he has authority on that interpretation or not. We can't decide that his interpretation is invalid simply because, well, it doesn't conform to our argument. Let me explain what I mean when I say that this extra language is important. Remember earlier when we said that a dead creature is an object? And remember earlier when I said that the alarm spell targets a specific object? That same thing is happening here. Just like not all objects can be targeted by the alarm spell, not all objects can be targeted by Revivify. In fact, the only object that can be targeted is a dead creature, an object that was a creature at some point, but is now an object nonetheless. So why have creature in there at all? Well, let's be clear about something we all understand, but maybe we can't put exactly into words, because the word creature does serve a gameplay purpose here. Creature isn't being used as a class of things that can be targeted. That is to say, the spell isn't using creature in this sense. Creature is there for another purpose. Revivify is using the term creature to identify to the reader that creature type is not limited when using the spell. The spell could have easily targeted a, quote, dead humanoid, but the spell isn't limited to humanoids. And had the spell targeted a dead humanoid, like in, say, the spell Reincarnate, with this wording, would we argue that a dead humanoid or a piece of a dead humanoid doesn't exist because it has become an object? It's important to recognize what's going on here. The word creature simply has multiple uses in D&D, as a class of things to be targeted, and as an indicator for a non-exclusive monster typing. And as it's employed in these spells, the use of creature is used for the latter, not the former. We understand that the spell doesn't target a living, non-object creature, but that the spell is indicating that you can revivify whatever type of creature that you want. If you want more proof, look, the spell doesn't end with what it targets, and it continues to refer to the target as creature. It's not doing this because Jeremy Crawford believes that the corpse is alive when it returns to life with 1 hit point, but because the book is reiterating that this type of object, the dead body of any type of creature, is what can be revivified. And guess what? The book is consistent in this interpretation, in using both object and creature in this way. I don't know if you liked when I showed you in Animate Objects how the spell targets objects and refers to those animated objects as creatures. Did you like that? Well, look, it continues to refer to them as objects even after they've been animated. Jeremy Crawford, what are you doing? Command an object to attack? How? It's become a creature. What am I to command? An animated object doesn't exist. Look, I may be going overboard, of course. Animated objects exist, and of course, dead creatures exist. But both can be targeted. Revivify and similar spells are targeting a specific type of object, a dead creature. Creature is used to show the player that the creature type is non-exclusive. That is what Jeremy Crawford means when he says that the words work together. There just isn't enough in the text to support Kobold's interpretation. Kobold says that he's pointing out the mistake, but looking at all of this from all the angles, I just don't see the mistake. Is it that the book chooses its resurrection targets inconsistently? Is that the mistake? This is going to be the most nitpicky part of the video, but I feel like it needs to be addressed. You see, Kobold ends his video with this.
Look at Animate Dead, they got it correct. Choose a corpse of medium or small humanoid within range. Why didn't they copy paste that in all of these spells? I think you get the point.
And I don't get the point. Corpse works? Corpse works? But a corpse is just a... So, Kobold accepts that corpse works. Why? Presumably because it doesn't include the word creature. And I get that the inclusion of creature may seem more confusing, especially after this long of a video, but they must have had some reason to do so, right? And, well, look, there's a canon of construction that says if you choose to include something somewhere, and you omit that same thing elsewhere, you probably did so for a reason. Spells like Animate Dead or Create Undead use the term corpse, but you'll notice that spells like Revivify, Raise Dead, and Resurrection don't. The latter spells use creature that has been dead or dead creature. So how do these two groups of spells differ? First, the corpse group only allows you to choose humanoids, which makes sense. When I think of a corpse, I generally think of a humanoid and not, say, a plant, a creature type not encompassed by humanoid. Corpse, therefore, is a more fitting synonym of a dead creature in this instance. But second, the creature group provides a time limit for how long their targets can be dead for the spell to work. Why should that matter? Within the lore of the game, I mean. Why should it matter how long a creature's been dead? I'm bringing them back the same way, right? Well, if you look closely at the wording of the two spell groups, you'll notice the difference in language between the two. That those with creature reference the soul being brought back. That the essence of the creature in those spells is being revived. That language is missing from Animate Dead and Create Undead. And it's here that I will have my last disagreement with Kobold. Kobold claims that the death section doesn't provide any insight into what is going on here, and I disagree. In the Dungeon Master's Guide, in the section about bringing back the dead, we are told that Raise Dead and Resurrection can restore a slain character to life. Restore. When a creature dies, its soul departs its body. But these spells, the ones that target a dead creature, restore that creature. Kobold asks, why didn't they copy and paste corpse? Because the spells that use corpse have a fundamentally different effect. Those spells merely use magic to ambulate and animate a corpse, nothing more than an object imbued with the cruel facade of life. When Raise Dead or Resurrection or Revivify target a dead creature, it brings that creature back. Let me say that again. It brings that creature back. When you animate dead, you get a zombie. The death is undeniable. When you revivify the creature, soul and all return. When taken with the use of creature as a non-exclusive signifier of creature type, I believe that this is why the word creature is used. It's a better fit mechanically, and it serves the purpose of reinforcing how the spell works. To summarize, Revivify and similar spells target a specific type of object, a dead creature. The word creature is not used as a targeting class, but referentially to other game mechanics. Nothing in the rules as written prevents or contradicts this reading, and other places in the rules, as well as authorial interpretation, support my understanding of the spell. Let's return to the question that was originally posed by Kobold. Does Revivify work as written? Yes. Yes, it does. As you awake with morning's hush, I am the swift upflinging rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the day transcending night. Do not stand by my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die.